It's wonderful. I was just saying this to Clement here, that one of the things that I've always thought was important in every group that I wanted to work with, if I possibly could, was to get everybody to feel comfortable with everybody else and feel not threatened by other people. Completely unlike the department I just retired from, in which there are such factions that they make the conflict and interaction like a picnic. And blood on the walls nearly every day. It was just an awful place. But everybody here is so relaxed and friendly. It's just wonderful. It's really great to see the easiness with which everybody fits in, both old timers and new timers, as it were. And I'm sure that's part of the reason why classes go so well. It's because we're so relaxed in ourselves. It's really wonderful. So today's Friday, last day of prep week. Last day in which it will be easy to get to campus. Beginning on Monday, you'll have to start fighting the maddening crowds because all the students will be here and they'll all be looking for the places they need to go and lost and confused, and it'll be exciting. I don't know where I think in 19 Ingram Hall is where the orientation is on Monday. And
8 o'clock.
8 o'clock, yeah. And I guess I'm jumping to talk about that, but I'll plan on talking for an hour or so, and I'll go over the points that I have normally gone over. If you've heard my pattern before, you're probably tired of it. But one of the students, we asked them to do orientation or evaluations, and at the end of the summer, one of the students said one summer that I needed to get new jokes. So I figured that was somebody who'd been there several times at least. But anyway, I'll do the sorts of things that I normally do about how intense CIC is, the need to cooperate, and I'll emphasize the idea of making sure that the distance students feel as much a part of what's going on as we can do, both by faculty attitudes and actions and by their peers. So lots of all those standard things. And if you have, some of you have given me tips or points you'd like to see emphasized, I've made notes of those both in our larger discussions and individual faculty meetings yesterday. And if you have any more of those things, any points that you think need to be emphasized, please do let me know. I'll be glad to try to work that into my pattern. And if you notice that I've forgotten it, feel free to just wave your hand and let me know if there's something else that I could cover helpfully, and I'd be glad to throw that in too. We'll do the same thing as normally. I'll introduce everybody to, I'll ask all the groups to start with to yell "yay" for themselves, and then I'll do the patter, and then at the end I'll introduce the faculty, and everybody go off into different directions to give your original, your first set of instructions about where they're to meet you and how you plan to do the assessment and placement and so on. One of the points that Mary Jo and I were talking about just a little while ago that Mary Jo particularly needs is something about this distance students, and a little bit of focused attention from the teachers on how well the students who study at distance do in that effort. The fact that some students just shouldn't be doing it at distance, they misunderstand the weight of what they're doing or the need for investment or their own patience level or whatever. So that's important to know about, and if you could, if somebody should bail out, you can let us know, like a line or two, a few sentences as a report at the end about what you noticed. I noticed increasing frustration, less interaction, and finally severance of the relationship or something like that. But along with that, if you could also pay attention to the 4 skill levels, listening, speaking, reading, writing, and tell us, well, in this summer, I noticed that the distance student did particularly well with listening, not so well with speaking or whatever. Now, of course, that's going to be based on the individual student's skills anyway. We understand that. But just to get some, at least anecdotal sense of how well people do at distance. So when they call up Mary Jo next year and say, well, I'm living in whatever, and I want to work on this, how well does it work? And we can say, well, we have both student and faculty estimations or assessments or analyses or whatever. We can't claim to have data. That'll take a long, long time to collect data. But we can at least say we have some anecdotal assessment from both faculty and students about what seems to work well. And we have a general sense that this is what happens. That'd be good for reports and for informing potential students and so on, and just in helping us decide whether it's a good idea to continue. Granted all the money pressures too, we also want to make sure that if we're going to go ahead and do this, as we are so far, that it's pedagogically effective for some people at least in some ways. And we'd like to be able to say this is what we think is really going on, because this is what our faculty notice about their students. Is that a good thumbnail of what you're looking for?
I think so. I mean, the question has come up a lot this year, and I'm sure it will come up more. If it's more from like funders, if I give such as a student a scholarship to,
yes.
Students are looking for scholarships, and the funders don't want to give funding for something that they don't think is going to be. They want to get a sense of quality, so. I'd like to just get as much evidence as I can from people, from students as well as from. So here's what we're going to do. We've done this every year. We'll do a mid-summer evaluation.
Right.
Of the students. How do you think this is going? We'll do an end of the summer evaluation. Student evaluation. I have access to people's final grades, so I can say, oh, that was a distance student, and his or her grade compared such and such. But any more documentation or evidence I can get from instructors, quiz grades or I don't really know what. Yeah, I just try to say, the distance students, are they at a disadvantage for reading and writing skills or speaking and listening skills, or
And I think just something that's very definitely focused on the distance effort, the distance education effort would be very helpful from the faculty members and the coordinator of each group that has a student who's studying at distance. So we can say, yes, it is disruptive of the classroom experience, and this is what I have to do to compensate for it, or it's not disruptive because I've taken these steps beforehand, or something along those lines, so that as we say, we can say to people, this is the practicalities of the issue. Yes, it's helpful for the students who can't get here because they have family obligations or whatever, medical problems that prevent them from traveling distances or whatever it is. And this is how we've compensated for the problem, and this is the result. Something along those lines that, like I said, we can't do a scientific measurement with such small numbers, but we can at least do anecdotal things. And I think that would be very helpful for talking with people. The federal government, of course, is very unwilling to, although on the one hand, some parts of the federal government say distance education is the future, the funding from FLOSS is that distance education is not supported, right? The students who are going to get a FLOSS must come here. Whether that's going to happen, whether that's going to change in the future or not, we don't know, but we still need to be able to respond to that sort of question, even if it's only implicit in what's going on as we speak with people outside the system. Yes, Mary Jo.
Speaking of the government too, so the Department of Education is very hesitant about it. The Department of Defense, on the other hand, is really interested. We've had these special forces guys the last couple of years, and we'll have one this year in Thai. It's not. I don't know the command structure, but the person at the Army who is in charge of, and he's in charge of like 500 guys, making sure, in charge of their language instruction training. So he's sending soldiers to
DLI?
No, not, well, to DLI, to the intensive thing on the East Coast. I'm blanking on the name.
FSI, Foreign Service Institute.
So, the summer intent, anyway.
Not the
Yeah, so he's sending people, he's sending his guys to the immersion programs, he's sending some of them to Athlete here, some to CIASI, and also they have I don't know much about it yet, but a working relationship with the University of Montana, who has a large foreign language program that primarily serves military personnel. And a lot of it is done by distance. So the military, so anyway, that guy is going to be here next week, I think at the end of the next week, and just to meet about, could it's not like he's got a grant that he wants to give us, but could CIASI do more distance stuff for his guys? And I don't know if we can or not.
Is this Chompu?
Yeah.
I thought he was going to retire.
I thought so too, but he hasn't yet.
Well, he's a friend of CIASI, so I hope he does.
If he retires, that need's not going to go away.
Yes, right. Right.
So anyway, just to try to, I think there are other branches of the government that are more interested in it than the Department of Education.
Yes, yes. Yeah, it's a varied world out there, isn't it? So please pay attention to the distance students. Even if they're just rank beginners, say my distance student began at 0, and just take notes throughout the summer, if you will, about things that work particularly well or things that are particular problems or whatever. And then if you would give us a paragraph midway through, if you've got someone like that, and then another paragraph or two at the end, not lengthy paragraphs, but just descriptive things about what happened and what worked and what didn't work, and how the other students related to this individual, and so on. That would be very, very helpful for us, and very helpful for people like this military fellow who's quite anxious to have us do more things, who likes what CIASI does, and I think he wants us to meet more of his needs, and or recommend to his successors that we continue with that relationship. And with support shrinking in terms of dollars everywhere except in the Defense Department, then that's to the good. And to finish up my own thought, if you have anything that you'd like me to discuss, please feel free to let me know. On Monday, either directly or by email. If something occurs to you over the weekend, send me a note. That'd be fine. Let's see. For the business of the day, let's see. Oh, I thought this ripped through my mind, in and out again. It'll come back. I've asked Frank to do a couple of things today.
I need to go get him in Stanford, so.
Oh, okay. There isn't one built into that table over there?
I don't.
There usually is somewhere on the side of it or something. They sometimes get pirated too. No. Okay. Sorry for the mystery. All right. So let me talk then a little bit about Box. It's a subscription thing that's available through the UW. In order to get to it, you go to My UW, and it's one of the tools, at least in the way it shows up on my page. It's one of the tools listed across the top. It has email, My UW, and then Box is one of the things there. And you go to you stay in the UW shell, but you go outside of UW into a proprietary website owned by a company that's trying to sell their services, and the university has a subscription, so you don't have to pay for anything extra. You can if you want to. There are courses you can take built into this company on how to use their stuff, but there are a number of online courses, 6 or so, that you can go through to show you how to use their own things. And then if you want to get fancier, then there are things for which you can pay and do even more. But the site is not just a Dropbox site. Dropbox is a free subscription. You can pay for more space if you want to, and that's what it's for. It's to put something onto that space, and then you can share it with somebody else. Right? The downside to that is if somebody else puts a large file, or large folder rather, up onto Dropbox, and you share a subscription, or you're subscribed to their files, their folders as well, then your space can get filled up pretty quickly, because their pictures and your documents are considered one allocation of space. So you can wind up being over full with your Dropbox account very easily, unless you do what Frank has done and pay a subscription. It's not very expensive. $25 a year, Frank, is that it? For more?
$20 a month.
$20 a month.
My.
Oh, okay, that's much more.
Well, that's for 200 gigabytes.
So 200 gigabytes. So you can, you can go from the 2 gigabytes they give you free up to quite a bit more space if you want to pay for it. But that's what it's for. It's just a Dropbox. And Box is like that too. You can use it as a Dropbox, but it's a more complicated set of tools than that. And it's a real step past Learn at UW. If any of you bother trying to learn to use Learn at UW, one of the attractions of that was that students could collaborate on documents or reports or whatever. And the learning curve was enormously high, for me anyway. And I never did really get that student participation thing worked out so that it was smooth to me, nor was it ever very smooth to my students. They couldn't figure out how to do it exactly either. Now, Box is like that, except Box has a feature in it that I think might be helpful for collaborative projects in which you want the students to work on a document together, because you can set it up so in what's called notes in Box. And it's when you go into Box, I'm sorry I don't have the projector up, maybe I can show it to you in a bit. But you go into Box, and there's some tools listed there on the side, and one of them is Notes. And you click on Notes, and then you have access to the documents, and anybody else whom you have given shared access to that set of notes can get to it also. So you can all be sitting together in a meeting like this, taking notes about what's going on, and one person can type in, well, Bickner's going on about his presentation on Monday, and then the next person can say, put in below that, I wonder when he's going to get on to Evernote. Then you can say, well, the Evernote was good, but I really am interested in Box. So you can all work on the document together, which sounds like something that would be really helpful for collaborative projects. And the difference between that and the other, and Dropbox, or Learn at UW rather, is that in each case with Learn at UW, you had to bring the file onto your own computer, work on it, send it back in, or post it again, and then your file and the others could be merged. But with this one, you're working on one file together, so everybody can see what you're doing. So it's for simultaneous effort, and that can be very helpful. Now, one of the downsides of Box, it seems to me, I just started looking at it the other day, so I haven't really used it for much, but the downside of Box is that it can be very complicated. To just use it as storage is good. You can work on a document, pull it down, revise it, and it'll go back. So you can use it just as storage if you want to, so that you can get at it from a computer in the office and then a computer at home without worrying about carrying it back and forth. But there are so many other tools, complex. Learning how to use it. It doesn't seem nearly as complicated as Learn at UW, but it is complex because it has so many things to offer. That's one of the downsides of some software development companies. They try to do so much that it becomes impossible to manage it all. So anyway, Box is there, and it's free. If use your UW ID, and you go into it through the UW portal. So if you've set up your portal so that you can get at UW with a different email account than your email ID, then you could get at Box that way too, apparently. But it's just integrated completely with the UW things. So that's my report on Box. And if I get a chance to use it, I'll let you know during the summer what my impression of it is more than that. Then the other things that we asked, any questions or any comments, or do you use something that's even easier than Dropbox? Or?
I do have a question.
Okay.
We don't have to keep our files there forever and ever, right? I'm talking about Dropbox. If we have already covered certain lessons and I want to remove those documents, then we can save the space that we allocated.
That's right. Yeah. Yes, you can.
Okay, so
The only thing you should remember about Dropbox is that if you've got people sharing the folder and one of the students goes in and you put a file there and you want them to download it,
Yes.
if they download it, then it's gone. Or if they delete it, then it's gone. So what they have to do is copy it, right? And everybody has to be sure that they're making a copy of that file and not changing it or deleting it or whatever, because then everything goes away forever.
You're only filing a student in a folder you have shared with someone. Because if they decide, oh, I'd like to have that in this folder, it's gone, you've lost it.
Right.
So always put copies of documents in folders that you're sharing with your students.
Okay.
And then tell them that if you're going to take it away, tell them that, if you better move that somewhere else because I'm going to delete it for more space. Now, generally, I delete files and video files that take up space, but I never delete the just documents like PDFs and stuff. I never delete those because they really don't take up any space.
Well, with your subscription, you grab a lot of space. Yeah.
Yeah, you do.
True.
200.
And at the end of the summer, I unshare the folder with the student. So you got to tell them if you want to keep those handouts or whatever, you better move them because after class is over, after CIC is over, I'm gonna unshare the folder with you.
May I have a follow-up question?
Right.
When I ask them to download from Dropbox, can I ask them to save it somewhere else that you're like?
Absolutely.
Yeah, so they don't have to delete.
Yeah, and once they take it out of the folder, it's gone from your folder too.
I know. So
Not
don't
download.
touch it. Copy
Copy.
and save it.
Yeah.
Not download.
Not download.
Also,
no.
you want to encourage students, if your students don't have Dropbox, or some people have Dropbox but they don't have the program on computer, when you first share the folder with students, if they download the Dropbox application on their computer, in order to get access to the folder you've shared with them, they will get an extra gigabyte for life,
Yeah, yeah.
and so will you.
Yeah.
So
So
they
you want to
are-
encourage students to download the Dropbox app if they haven't already, because you'll both get more storage, and that storage stays forever. I'm up to like almost 33 gigabytes of storage just from people downloading downloading the application to get my shared folder.
Yeah, but not use Dropbox. If possible, send your homework by email.
Well, you can put it in the Dropbox.
To make it simpler.
Homework isn't.
I have them turning homework on Dropbox,
Yeah.
and I put the corrected homework on Dropbox too. But it's up to
Yeah,
you.
but then it gets complicated. You can copy, but not whatever, download, blah, blah, blah. Then.
No,
Did you not just say don't download, just copy it?
it's don't download if you want to keep that file there for somebody else. If you're giving an individual student his or her homework back, you put that there and they download it, then you don't have any more. It's like giving them their piece of paper.
Once you have the Dropbox application on your computer, it's just like another folder on your computer. The only difference is that when you make changes to that folder, if it's shared with someone else, the changes are going to reflect it on their computer too, presuming even if you're not the owner. So.
How do you deal with like privacy kinds of things so that you share one student's homework back with only that student and nobody else can see?
Yeah, normally what I do is I have like the course folder where, say I have, like when I have Berkeley students, so I have course folder. So every student can see that folder and download or copy. And then I would create an individual folder where student can submit homework. And so you share with that particular student only. Yeah. So then for each student you can create that. So it's back and
Each
forth.
student make their own folder, and within each folder is handouts, turn-in assignments, corrected assignments. But
Right.
that's only doable by the student that you
Right.
share
Yeah,
the
no,
folder with.
Yeah, so
Fox will do the same thing, but it's a subscription sort of thing. When you set up the folder, then you invite somebody to join it too.
Right.
yeah. So then in your particular student, each individual student, you will have submitted homework, corrected homework, handouts. Yeah, so you can create folders so that they can know exactly if they want to check something. That's why you don't want to keep deleting, because then you forget what has been deleted and what not. So I usually do what Frank does too, that I would have every week, I would set up week 1, week 2, week 3 notes and by dates. That's what you need to do so that student can know exactly if you want them to, okay, go to this folder and these handouts in there and it is labeled whatever, No, and then when they lost it somehow, they can always go back. But if you keep erasing or taking it out, then it's get all confusing.
Yeah, I'm just concerned.
You have to have a workflow that works for you, that you know and that you adhere to.
Okay.
It's going to be different for everyone. But you have to have something that works for you.
Yeah, but that sounds good. You create by each week and each day and each student.
Like anything, like if students give me something that's important, like say it's their independent study project, right? It's a PowerPoint for the independent study project, and they put it in the turn in assignments folder. I'll put it somewhere else on my computer, so that if they delete it, I still have it.
Okay, yeah,
You
that's
know,
how it-
so
yeah.
you just gotta
That's what I was-
think up through every step.
I know, that's what I meant.
Yeah.
Things should be saved somewhere else.
Yeah, I always have my own folder of their work. I don't
Right.
rely on them to
Exactly.
not delete the stuff.
Right,
Yeah.
right. See, that was the point.
And word processing files have, will, at least Word and Pages will allow you to duplicate a file, and it will say in the name copy, so that you can tell whether it's an original or not. And you can also set up, I don't think you know the Dropbox, but Box seems to have filters, so you can set that up so that it will only accept files that have copy in the name. So if you're afraid of accidentally putting your precious original up, then you can queue it so that it won't accept it unless you've made a copy.
Yeah.
So like Frank said, if you get a workflow that fits your way of doing things, then you're safe. But you have to think about that.
Yeah, and also, and if for Thai, if I send the students or put in the Word document, when they open with another computer, it's shift
Right.
in a different way, weird way and stuff. So when you have scripts, you want to make shift, save it in PDF and share the PDF with the students.
Yes.
That way they don't,
Yeah.
you know.
Mary Jo, you have something?
So I was wondering how people manage it in classrooms like we're gonna have where there are distant student, maybe one or, some distant students and some face-to-face students. Do you have Dropbox folders for everybody, no matter where they are, or do you just do it for the remote students? I'm just wondering what people do.
I only do it for remote.
Yeah. Well, I mean, when I did the academic year, because I only have Nick, and Nick said that can he have one too, because he doesn't have to, when he finished homework, he can just stick it in the Dropbox. So.
Just wondering.
Yeah. So again, it's what helps you stay organized is the way to go if you're going to use those programs. All right. Then the other thing that I asked Frank to talk to us about is how he uses Evernote, and that evolved into using
Frank, should I pass these out now?
iPads.
Yeah.
One thing that I wanted to comment on just the other day, I remember we were talking about standing in front of one of the Polycom machines, and Ganika made the point that she feels like she's on the stage. I think all of us have had that feeling when you go into a language class to start with, but then there's that big eye staring at you all the time. It makes me feel like I'm on stage too, like Big Brother is watching, But then I also, after that day, I was thinking about that. Yeah, you feel like you're on stage. But then when I got home that night and I was on the computer, don't we all go home and enjoy some free time on the computer? I mean, that's what we do, right? We work on the computer at work and we go home and we play on the computer at home. What a life. And I noticed that I had a notification on Facebook. And I went to Facebook and it was a comment from my brother saying, my brother calling the shots. And it said that he had made a comment on a picture in which I was tagged, posted by Frank Smith. So I looked, and there was a picture of us at the meeting, a couple of pictures of us here in the meeting, and Frank had been taking pictures and put it up on Facebook. And I remember seeing the camera, I remember Frank was taking the pictures, and it didn't surprise me, but then I thought, you're on camera all the time these days, no matter what. So, I don't have a comment one way or the other about.
You're live on YouTube right now, actually. And so is everyone else is in the. No one's watching it. I'm just testing the streaming.
No, but I mean,
we're on camera all the time.
no, I mean it's true that you on camera all the time, but I mean you think that I felt that I did not. I felt like I'm just like my day-to-day normal day, right?
Yeah.
But the feedback is the feedback from the people who are serving you, that you put more effort into it than normal. You know, you felt you felt like you do normal thing. It's just like, oh, I just go on my normal routine. But it's just automatic. It's just subconscious that you are in, you know, in
But
this
you're
big
still
picture.
normal.
I am normal, I know that.
But you're conscious
Yeah.
about it all the
So,
time.
so it's still, the draining part, it's still there, you know, even though you felt like you're doing it.
Yeah, I don't mean to diminish your thought at all. I understand your response to it. It's just,
Do you know where it has to
I
go
was
to
just thinking, wow,
project on?
I'm on,
Over
Yeah,
there,
all
you
the
can
time.
pull it down.
and of course, if you go into any public space these days, you're being videotaped.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
NSA is analyzing your facial profiles, and you know, you're in Big Brother's computer. It's amazing.
The same response as at any sport event. The
Yes.
people with hearing, and all of a sudden they see their picture on the big
That's
screen,
right, that's
and you
right.
see that their reaction is totally different.
That's right. That's right.
I think in
yes.
the big
Good point.
rooms, I think for Filipino will be the same. You see yourself there.
Do it now.
Right. We noticed that.
I'll just
have a
It's the paparazzi. They're always there. All we people living in the
Clement Kardashian.
Okay, so let's move on to the iPad stuff and distance and that's and Evernote. Just on your iPad, do you have Evernote? Does everybody have Evernote? You know how to find something on the iPad and you haven't used it before. A way to do it is to just go to the home
And slide
screen
to open.
Okay,
and
okay.
slide down to it,
Things
and
you
you
do
can
now.
Find
get a chance
Evernote.
to get a free list.
An elephant.
There's no Evernote.
It's
Yes,
green.
Okay, there's just notes.
An Evernote's green.
Where? Oh, okay.
There we go.
Thank you.
Elena.
You're on camera now.
Oh, cool, cool, cool.
You all to be in the picture.
Oh, this is great. Hey man, did you not talk about the thing that you don't have to use slide projector and there won't be a glare in your eyes, blah, blah, blah.
That's a special room.
What kind of finger is that?
Middle,
That's me.
middle.
DPW, would you move that bottle over out of the light, landing right into my thing?
And move yourself.
I know.
Yeah, this is not very, yeah, I mean, this is, you can't see very much, but basically, so when you, this is not what Evernote is going to look like on your,
It's not.
on the iPad, no. This is what it looks like on your computer.
The
So,
layout is different, but the tools are the same.
so you have notebooks, so you could, these, you know, you, obviously I created them all myself. So, you create as many notebooks as you want, and then,
Notebooks are like folded.
yeah, they're like folders. And then within a notebook, let's see.
If you go to Evernote and nobody else has used it on the iPad, you get an introductory set of pages.
There we go.
So let's take a look at those.
So here's this notebook I have for CIASI, and I use it for, like, you know, and the notes are just various things that have to do with when I'm at CIASI. It's all, yeah,
Oh,
it's
that's a
all
good one.
personal.
Construction noise complaint number.
Yeah,
That's a good one to keep handy.
yeah. So, but basically, so what's interesting here is I have this folder called Beginning Snapshots. Okay. Now, Beginning Snapshots is a folder that I have on my computer, and it's shared with the Evernote account that's on our iPad. It's on the iPad that we use with our distance student.
Okay.
Okay.
And
So
Evernote automatically syncs between computer, phone, and
Yeah.
an iPad.
yeah.
So how many people other than us here are stuck with, you know, since it's never, so we gotta create a new account? Is that
Enter your
just us?
email address to sign in or create a new account. I'm at that page.
It's free.
Yeah.
Okay, but anyway, so this is this folder, this Beginning Snapshots folder. This is shared with my account on here. It's shared with the account we have on the on this iPad, on the iPad we use in class, and we'll share it. We haven't yet, but we'll share it with our distance student. Okay, so here's what's in that. we were testing this out yesterday, and you're going to see Sukari demonstrate this. But basically, any picture that we take, let's find an actual one. So let's say we took this one from the in the classroom. It'll instantly go to my Evernote account, and it will go to the student's Evernote account too. So the student goes, oh, I want a picture of that poster. Boom, you take a picture of it, and they've got it. I want a picture of what you just wrote on the board, etc.
And that's because you shared the folder with those students before?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. So this, and this is just, we were just testing out in the office yesterday. So there's the door, there's our speaker, there's me giving the International Southeast Asian sign of I'm going to have my picture taken. Yeah.
So when you take a picture, it doesn't go to your camera thing first,
Well, it goes there too. It'll go to your camera roll on your iPad too.
and then you have to move it, or?
No, you don't have to move it. That's the great thing. You take it within Evernote. Here's what you do. And you're going to see Sokari demonstrate this, but you're not going to see what she sees on the screen. So let's say new note, okay? So what Sokari is going to do when she's doing her little demonstration in a little while is she's going to click on the iPad, new note, okay? And when the new note thing pops up, again, it'll look a little different on the iPad. One of the icons, why isn't it on here? Well, one of the icons is going to be a camera. And when you click on the camera, it opens the iPad's camera. You take the picture, and it saves the picture. When you do save, it saves the picture in this folder. And because you've got the folder shared with the student automatically gets the picture. Okay.
But the folder can only be opened by Evernote. Like if you take a picture
Yeah?
from this application,
Uh-huh.
it's saved in this application. So can someone open it from other application?
Not unless you export it.
I see.
So the student has to open it in their Evernote account, which you instruct them to create.
One question, Frank. When Home took the picture of what she taught in class in her iPod, but it showed on my iPad.
Well, that's because you're both logged in.
Oh.
Everyone should really log in, should really create their own Apple ID, because that's going to be a problem. That's good, especially with FaceTime. If anyone uses FaceTime, FaceTime has to be linked to FaceTime is a chat program. It's only on Macs.
Can we get that accomplished today before we leave?
Yeah.
I mean, because we've got now, I think, all the iPads that we're going to be using this summer, right?
Okay. Everyone creates, because FaceTime is tied to it. So if Amelia's iPad has Mary Jo's FaceTime, and then Box does, you're gonna, your student's gonna call you, and it's gonna show up on Box iPad. Yeah. So now it requires a credit card or debit card. It doesn't cost anything, but you have to enter in your credit card information in order to create an Apple ID on the. But you have to have that to use FaceTime.
So you should have
Apple ID.
Apple ID, yeah. You should use your own Apple ID on your iPad. Now you can, if someone picks up our class iPad, they can't purchase anything because my password still has to be entered in for not for every purchase, every download. Nobody can even download a free program in the App Store unless they enter in my password, and I'm the only one who knows that.
Okay, I have a request. At one point today, would you teach us all who haven't set up this thing and go step by step so that we can all follow and do at the same time or something?
I think that's a.
Yeah, Mary Jo and I were talking about this before. We figured what we do would be ask Frank to go through a certain number of steps and then stop, and then have a chance.
Should we do that part now?
So maybe we'll leave time to do
Create
that.
Because I'm not sure how to. Do people have to take my Apple ID off of the?
That's where's Kim? Oh, Kim's not here. We were having trouble with that. We were having trouble getting my Apple ID off the old Chimera One.
Okay.
Well, this is,
And as far as I know, we still
this
haven't
is a
done.
camera. I have the.
I don't know how to do it.
Oh, let's
The
find
only
out.
way that we were able to do it is to wipe out everything.
Yeah,
No, there's another way. No, there's another way.
Just like you can get rid of the old thing if
You have